because you were gone for almost a week.
Yeah, we went on a 5-day hunt. I took Mike on a bear hunt with in Canada, so that was good. I was
old Mike.
What's that?
Not new Mike. Yeah, we got to specify now that we have a new Mike in the shop.
Mike number 1.
10-year anniversary gift, right?
Yeah. I figured he had never killed a bear. We tried a couple times, and so I took him up to Stewart's and ended up killing 2 bears. It was a good deal. One
pretty
was a
bears.
really nice one, yeah. He funny thing about that trip though, apparently you need a passport to go to Canada. So
yeah, it's important.
Well, not for I have a Washington enhanced driver's license. Do you have an enhanced driver's license, Jason?
No.
Okay.
I don't even have a driver's license.
Well, you got to get one soon because apparently, yeah. Apparently, I think even to fly domestically, you're going to need an enhanced driver's license. You're not
2026. I think you got to have a passport or an enhanced ID.
Yeah, you better figure that out.
I got a passport. I'm good to go.
You got a passport? Okay. Well, you need it for.
Oh yeah, man! I'm ready to jump ship if I got to.
Mike, well, we were in the shop, and he's like, "Oh, buddy, do you need a passport or anything to go to Canada?" I'm like, "No, you don't. No, you're good. I just used my driver's license. I didn't realize it was an enhanced driver's license."
No.
So he didn't bring a driver's license. He brought his driver's license on my word, on my account. That I'm like, no, you don't need a passport. You know what I mean? You just bring your driver's license. I need to just learn to shut my mouth and let people figure their own stuff out.
Stop talking.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I don't know.
I've heard you give this speech. You talked about giving it to Brad. Don't talk on things you don't know.
Yeah, exactly, my boy. I'm like, you be careful when you talk like you know something when you really don't know something.
When you don't, people will call your bluff.
Yeah, and then you look like the idiot.
In the border, the county mounties, what Dudley do right up there.
So we get up there.
When you mentioned this to me, all I had was visions of Mike and his sparkling smile standing there in line against a brick wall, and the county.
If it took a smile to get Mike into Canada, we were going to Canada. I can tell you that. I don't think there is a smile on Mike. Oh. We pull up to the border.
I could imagine.
And so I got the paperwork figured out for the guns, right? Because the first time when we did our moose hunt or whatever, we printed them out on the wrong sheets of paper. And so you had to print them on these legal forms, not the 8.5 by 11. You got to need 8.5 by 14, blah, blah, blah. There's some little stuff like that I've just learned from mistakes, right? Every time I go, you learn something new that you're like, don't do that.
I do know.
And so I'm feeling pretty confident. We pull up there. I'm like, yeah, I got the guns to declare. And they're like, any alcohol? I'm like, yeah, he's got a 24 pack of beer, what about tobacco? And I was like, yeah, he's got 10. I said 10 rolls of chew, which I should have said 10 cans of chew, but they didn't. Yeah, they didn't flag anything right there. But they're like 10 roll. Okay, so he writes this slip down. He goes, oh, pull over here. We walk in, and I got my slips.
And that's when Buddy knew things took a turn.
No, you had to.
I hear Waylon Jennings in the background. When you take a gun,
you have to go in to check in, right? So you got to go declare the guns, the firearms. So you got to go. So when you take a gun to Canada, you have to. You pull up, you tell them what you got, you do your declaration or whatever, and then they're like, okay, pull up in slot 3, and they give you a little pink slip of paper or whatever it is. So I'm like, everything's kosher, right? I walk in there and tell Mike, I'm like, where's slip? I hand him the slip. There's this one guy over here, and he must have been speaking French. I don't know what he was saying, but he's like damn near barefoot.
Yeah, they do that up there.
And I nearest I could tell was they were like, you can't just walk across the border, sir. Where do you live? And he's like, I don't know. Whatever. And he's just talking. They're like, what's your date of birth? And they're like, I live here. And he just not making any sense. I'm pulling my hair out, listening to the guards trying to figure out what they're going to do. They're like, he's trying to walk. I guess they caught him in the middle zone, like the no-go zone.
Right.
And so there's that guy. And then I can overhear the next account agent going, "You're not allowed back in Canada. What are you trying to do? It's some fugitive that's trying to some kid going back to Canada, but he's got something." And there's me and
geez.
Mike, with our shit all lined out and done, and the guy, he goes, "Welcome to our job." And because I just said, I go, "Dude, I feel for you guys right now." Because I mean, it's like a circus in that place. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm sure.
It's a zoo between those two people who one won't speak any kind of English. They can't comprehend. They ask him a question and he's like talking about his visa and this other stuff and just not making any sense. Like they're asking him a question like, "What is your birth date? Where do you live? What address is your address?" And he can't answer anything. I don't know if he's mentally, I don't know. There's something wrong with
national,
him.
Man.
And he didn't make any sense. And then the other kid that must have had some kind of felony or something because they weren't letting him in. And he was sitting there, and they're sitting there like, "We don't know what to do with these guys." Like, and I was sitting there going like, "What do you do with someone like that? Do you just kick him back? Back to the U.S.?" I'm like,
send him back to the
we don't
US.
want him over here either. You know what I mean? Put him in the middle area. I don't. So I, just made a comment, which is not I'm going to tell you, when you deal with the Mounties, do not make jokes. Like they're not jokey type of people. But I did make
like
a little
FAA, man.
What's that?
It's like the FAA. You don't mess around. Like, don't make conversation. You answer exactly what you're asking as little words as possible, and you get about your day.
But I was feeling cocky. Okay, so here I am. And I'm like, I got off the script. I was like, "Dude, I feel for you guys." And I seen a little bit of human in that guy. That's the first time I've seen human in a Border Patrol guy. I'll be honest with you. He just looked at me and he goes, "You don't know the half of it, man." And I said, "Well, I think we
need you on a podcast, bro."
Exactly. I'm like, and so he's like, it looks all correct. And I go, "Yeah, I think we got it all right this time." And he goes, "Yeah, that's normally a sign. When everything's right, we're always looking for something wrong." You know what I mean? He's like, "Nothing's ever perfect." And I'm like, I said, "Well, funny you should mention that."
You should have just messed something up.
Yeah, it's like, I'll make a mistake next time, but I made a mistake every time before this. Okay, every time. I've like the first time. The second time was I printed on them 8.5 by 11s, because I just told him, I said, "Dude, I've made enough mistakes. I just know what I'm doing now." And I said, "I printed these last year. I came up and I printed them on 8.5 11." And he looked up at me, and that was like the golden ticket. Like so many people have gone up to that Border Patrol and printed their firearm declaration pages on 8.5 by 11s. And
right.
I think that's just like the golden ticket. You know what I mean? Like he looked at that and he's like, "You know what you're talking about." Street cred, instantly street cred.
Bingo.
He was like, "Okay." You know what I mean? Like you did screw up before. And so, anyways, signed it off, sent it up there. We were on our way. We get up to Stewart's and, I pull in his driveway and we're like there, and there's another hunter that's coming up. I think her name is Lorraine, right? And so was talking about her, and Stuart's like, "Yeah, she had to go to Seattle to get her passport on a expedited service." And I'm like, "Oh, interesting." And I said, I didn't use a passport. Why'd she need a passport?" And he goes, "Well, you need a passport to come to Canada." And I go, "Stuart, I don't have a passport. I mean, I probably should get one, but I'm like, I don't have a passport."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Really? How did you get into Canada?" I said, "Well, I just show him my driver's license." And then I look at it and it says enhanced. I go, "So it says enhanced driver's license. Washington's an enhanced driver's license state." And Stuart's like, "Really?" And I can see Mike just getting quiet. You know what I mean? Because he goes, "Well, you won't get back into the U.S. without a passport."
Two together.
And Mike's like, "Buddy, I don't. My driver's license is not enhanced." And I'm like, what do you mean?" And he's like, so he pulls it out and it's just a regular driver's license. And so Stuart's like, "Dude, you're never going to get back in the U.S. with that." You know what I mean? He's like, "You're working for me today." So
that's when the W boys knew they were in a whole heap of trouble.
Yeah. I was like, "Oh," and he goes, "I can't believe they let you in here with that." And I go, "It's a funny story, Stuart. Like there was so much shit going on that I think it slipped through the cracks." You know what I mean? Like I don't think it was intentional, but I think the circus that was in that building, we just seemed like the normal people that they didn't catch the mistake, you know? And anyways, yeah. So we started doing some research, and Mike wasn't getting back in the US with a regular driver's license. Apparently, you got to have a passport to get back
But
to
the
the
good news
US.
is it was early, like the hunt hadn't started, so he could go have some fun with the imminent letdown of you're
We
going
were
to stay
there
here forever.
So we ended up, Mike had a passport. He just didn't bring it because somebody told him he didn't need it. So, anyways, the whole passport story, we called Jess. We got his wife we overnighted a passport to the border, like not the border, but there's little mailing facilities right there that I guess all the Canadians or whatever ship to the border, and then they drive across to pick their packages up. And so I was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to overnight your passport. So it's sitting there. It's 3 blocks away from the border. Worst case, I could go get the package and bring it back to the guy to be like, he's legit. And I do want him to come back with me. And
nothing could go wrong with that plan.
Yeah. Just lost his pass. No, we didn't. We didn't have, honestly, and you know, it worked. Like when we got to the U.S. border to come back, I mean, that guy caught it right away. He's like, this doesn't qualify for citizenship. You know what I mean? You got to prove your citizenship. And we're like, funny story. And it was this black dude. And he goes, man, I love funny stories.
They didn't find it funny.
See, the U.S. guys are cool, right? The Canadian Mounties, the U.S. guys you can joke with, okay? But the Canadian Mounts, no. So this black guy, he's like, wow, funny story. I said, here's the deal. And I hold my hands up, and he's like, I want to hear a story. And he goes, how in the hell did you get into Canada with that? He said, I work for the government. They won't let me in if I work for them. And so anyways, I told him, I said,
he's Mike. He stared him down,
I don't know how it happened, but we did catch it luckily. And there's a passport sitting 3 blocks that way. So if you need me to go get that, we just got to park this thing, and I got to figure out the guns and the bear in the back and make sure that the truck, and I can go in and come back. But I can go get that proof for you if you need to. And he looked it up. He got the number, and he was able to verify it without it. So we didn't have to. But that could have been a bad deal.
Our borders are secure. That's good to know.
What's that? Our
borders are secure. That's good to know.
Yeah. He was cool. I mean, it was like, oh, you got a bear? Let me see. Showing pictures of a bear. I mean, totally different. Like, there's different experiences.
Shifted modes.
Yeah. When you're coming back into the U.S., it's like a party. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's have a good time, you know, whatever. Going to Canada, they're like, what are you here for? Where are you going? Nope. No joke.
Business or pleasure.
Do you got any fun stuff like alcohol? Do you got any tobacco, firearms, all the good stuff?
What are you going to try to make money on while you're here?
Right. What are you going to leave? Are you leaving money? Sorry, I roll over my cord.
Right.
Coming back to the U.S., they're like, hey, man, what's going on? You do good? You have a good time? All right. Welcome back. So
let's get pictures with the bear.
Yeah, exactly. You want some selfies? So yeah, we would definitely damn near didn't. We almost didn't make. I don't know what I would have done. So there was one time with Don, my first time to Canada. I don't know if I told that story or not, but that's Don's story to tell.
Yeah, because he declared you guys didn't have guns, right? And he was
that was the problem.
He said you were going up to go hunting, and they're like, well.
What do you mean? You're going hunting without a gun? I'm like, it's a camera. It's a weird deal, dude. Just let us go. You know what I mean? Leave us alone.
Well, never say weird deal to those guys either. That's a surefire red flag. You can't
say anything up there. There's nothing you can say with the Canadian Mounties. You just got to be like, look like a stick in, like you got a stick up your butt. So with Don, there was a real legitimate possibility that he wasn't going to be through. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. You go to Canada with me, you got to understand that if you don't make it, that's not like a we don't make it kind of trip. Okay.
Nobody's going to leave you.
Yes. Like
trust me.
It's not like we didn't make it into Canada. It's like I didn't make it to Canada. Like just because we're carpooling.
I need a bus ticket.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta make sure that you got And I'll figure something out for you. You'll get a hotel room or something for the night for you to arrange something for you to hitchhike home. I don't know what, but
Right.
But we're talking about hunting, and this goes for any kind of hunting. Okay, if we're going hunting up in my neck of the woods or whatever, if something goes wrong, most of the time that's not a we didn't make it. That's a you didn't make it. Okay. I will kick your ass out of the truck and be like,
issue if Buddy's stuck.
it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened yet, Jason. But I do have sleeping visions of leaving a buddy at the border with a rifle case, being like, peace out. Oh,
dude, why would you tell me that? You just said you wanted to go in December. Like, that doesn't make me feel good.
Just telling you, bring an extra pair of pajamas, Jason. You got to stay at the border.
Fair deal.
Make sure you're clear to go.
I got lots of friends. I'll dial for dollars. I'll find a couch or something with a bus pass.
Maybe I would, Jay. I don't know. I'm not promising anything, but there is I don't know if it's a greediness. I don't know what it is, Jason. But when it comes to hunting, I'm like, why is you going to screw up my hunt? Okay. Because you don't got your shit in order. Why does that affect my hunt? Okay.
I get that.
Like we run a tight ship.
I get that.
Yeah.
So you were going to leave your brother at the border.
I'm not a fun traveler, probably. Not to travel. Yeah. I'm just not going to say. Have your shit in line when it's time to travel with me.
That's why I got a passport ready.
I mean, my own son, he didn't have. So I told you every time I got something wrong. Well, when Bradley came, we had the forms printed out in the wrong form, but I also didn't have his social security card in my person. I took pictures of him, but you got to have, social security number, and then you got to have a letter from your wife saying that they acknowledge that they're out of the country with you, right? So if you're taking a minor, so let's say you want to call your son, you've got to have a letter from Danny saying, yes, I understand
Makes sense.
He is traveling with Jason and he's okay to leave the country and go here, and they're doing this, and just something that describes it. Well, I had that, but I didn't have
itinerary.
Yeah, I didn't have his actual social security card because I was like, dude, I don't want to carry this around, lose it. So I'll just take a picture of it on my phone.
Right.
It worked, but not the Mounties. They let me know that was not acceptable.
See, now I feel like I'm going back and you've been red flagged several times.
What's that?
Now you've been red flagged. It's like it's Russian roulette to see who's going to get stopped and whose buddy going to leave at the border.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, look at my son. I'm like, hey, bud, have a good time. I'll get you a hotel. You can stay here. I'll be back in a couple days. Pick you up. Oh,
I was pumped, man. When we were going to go on the lynx hunt, I went and I got my passport. And for our kids, like our kids can have dual citizenship. Right. So we had to get all of our stuff in line so that they can get their stuff in line. Dual citizenship
to where?
Luxembourg.
Where's that?
It's in Europe. Little tiny country.
Oh, yeah.
Rape of Belgium, access through there.
So it's
in the history books.
Hold on.
So my wife's father immigrated here straight from Luxembourg with his aunt.
Okay.
So my wife and her children can have dual citizenship. I can't, but they can.
Okay. So they can leave.
I went and got that, and we got all their stuff in order. Plus, I knew we were going on that lynx hunt, and then the big C happened. And I'm like, I'm not getting stuck to go to Canada. So I've been holding that passport, and I haven't had to use it yet.
Oh, yeah. I probably should get a passport. I don't know. I don't have a lot of desire to travel outside. If it's not for hunting, I don't have a ton of desire.
You sound like me.
Yeah.
But at least you had a good hunt, and you passed on one or two.
I could have filled 2 tags easily. I could have filled more with small bears, but Mike shot a nice bear. Like we seen one, and I was like, "Holy shit!" You know what I mean? There's my cuss word again, but
That's all right.
He got a really nice one the first day actually, and we got that thing loaded up. We were heading back, and then a really nice one was down off the side. I actually videoed it, and Stuart and Barry, the guides we had, because you got to have a guide with you to hunt up there. So
Right.
they kept saying, "Well, if you see a nice one, you're going to want to shoot it." And I'm like, "Dude, I don't think so. I don't really have a strong desire to shoot a bear. Like I just don't. Like I've killed a nice
Right.
bear. I wouldn't take it back. I had some bad experience with that bear. Maybe it's like trauma stuff. You know, maybe I need to see a counselor.
Dude, you can still taste the bone sour in that thing,
Right.
probably.
Probably should go seek a counselor about this story, because I have this like trauma around bears.
That'll stick with you.
My first one we shot, and me and Mike were young. Young, but 18, something like that. We didn't get it dressed out good. We field dressed it, but we didn't get it cooled off good. And we waited too long for somebody to come help us drag it out instead of just manning up and taking the hide off and quartering it. You know, back then everything came out whole. Right. It didn't matter. Like if it took 2 days, you're like, nope, we're getting it out whole.
We can't get a picture of it in pieces.
Yeah. So now I can't, I've learned, but I was able to, the hide didn't slip too much that I could do a mount. So I got the mount, and it's on my wall, but it was a nice bear. It was a really nice bear. I don't know if it was a 20-inch skull or 19-inch skull or whatever. I mean, it was a stout bear. So I've killed a nice one, and I told, Stuart and Barry, I'm like, this hunt is for Mike. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm here for, make sure Mike's there. And maybe I will, maybe I won't. But most of the time when I seen a bear, I jumped out with my camera in my hand, my phone, rather than the gun. I really didn't have a strong desire to go do the gun. I was going to get the video. So I think by day 3, they were starting to realize that I was being serious when I'm like, I probably won't shoot a bear this trip. And I told Stuart, because he wanted to lower a couple number of bears, because with COVID, they didn't have a lot of hunters. And so they had a pile of bears. And so he was wanting to make sure he killed enough bears to try to help his deer and elk recruitment, or not elk, but, deer recruitment, sure. Moose, and, those types of things. So he's like, buddy, I really, he told me, I really want you to shoot a bear. And I'm like, I don't want to shoot a bear. So I finally made it. I told Stuart, I woke up and I said, here's the deal. I said, if we catch one with dogs, I'll consider shooting. If we catch a nice one with dogs, I'll consider shooting one. But I said, I really, I just don't have a strong desire to do spot and stock. You know what I mean? Like, maybe sure. If we did a badass hunt where I stalked into 10 yards and nudged it in the nose and it was going to eat me, and there's some story to go with it, and I had to shoot it or else it was going to kill me, whatever. Maybe there was something there that I'd be like, well, it was a cool story, bro. But, so I told him, I said, here's the deal. Everybody had their tags filled, you know what I mean? So they killed the first one, and Stuart went back, got them a second tag, and bam, they shot the second bears. Both that Lorraine and Mike both killed two more bears. So they both filled both their tags. And so I'm the last guy with the tag. You know what I mean? I got my first tag still in my pocket. And I'm like, I'm just here to play with dogs, man. Like, let's go take the dogs out. And which they hunt a little differently, because they're hunting for big bears. You know what I mean? And it makes logical sense. Right. That when they're hunting for a client, they don't want to turn loose unless they see the bear. Right. So they want to judge the bear, because they don't want to spend all day
sure
on a small runner that wears out the dogs. And then, you get to a tree that you're not going to harvest. And so it's like it's a business, you know what I mean? So they're there to harvest big bears.
Sure.
And that's what, they pride themselves in. And so some of that is me having to shut up and listen and let them do the way they run their ship. Right. I said ship, not shit, but just so you know. And
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, don't beep that one out, okay? That was a legitimate one. The one where I clarified it, you got to beep the second part out, okay? It's just the way this works.
Yeah.
So anyways, about, I don't know, day 3, I was warming up to the idea that I might harvest one. So I actually, took a gun with me. I had that 4570 that I got for my 5-year anniversary. Actually, Mike, when you work at
I
W.
bought myself for my 5-year
Yeah,
anniversary.
yeah. Oh, I'm not passing a gun up on the anniversary dates.
Heck no.
Man, I get my anniversary hunts too. Okay, my guns and my anniversary.
Heck
I'm
yeah.
just like a kid. It was Mike's gun. He had that 4570. We got the logo put in there, and I was like, oh, if I'm going to shoot a bear, that's what I want to shoot it with. 4570 lever action. I'm like, that'll be
Right.
badass. So I started packing it, and anyways, long story short, I passed one the day Mike killed his, and then we passed several other small ones that weren't really shooters, anyways. You know what I mean? Even if I was hunting, those weren't ones that we were gonna shoot. And then on the last day,
Right.
because I told Stuart, I said I'm leaving. It was a Wednesday, was our last day, so we had a 5-day hunt, and I told him, I said, I'm not hunting Wednesday night because I'm not skinning a bear Wednesday night and then trying to freeze it and trying to package shit up for Thursday.
Right.
I don't want to do that much work. You know what I mean? I want to be ready, hop in the truck, load it up, ready to go. I didn't want to. It's now a cat. I'd have been last day. You know what I mean? Like whatever. We can go to the last one. But on the bear, I was like, nope. I'll hunt till the morning, and then that afternoon we're gonna take off. So I can at least get to the border. Number one, I got to hit the border at a certain hour because there's this little postal shop on the border town that's only open from 9 to 4. So I got to be in that 9 to 4 range to get this passport. So I'm like, if I tried to take off in the morning, I'd have to get up at 2 in the morning. And I just was like, man, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I'm there early. So
No.
last day we went up, and I say the 4th day, we had some good strikes. Dogs are striking. I mean, the bear was right there. And but again, they like to see the bear, and so it was really odd for me. I was like, man, let's just turn loose and catch this one and see what. Who cares if it's a small one? You
Roll
know
the
what I mean? They're
dice.
like, no, we really want you to get a nice one. And so we didn't turn loose on it, even though we had some strikes. We never did see a bear that morning. Normally, you'd see a couple bears a day, and that day we didn't see any bears. And about 11:30, noon, when it started getting really warm, I'm like, God, we should have just. And I think they probably would have agreed. So like, you should have just turned loose and seen what we got. The last day, I told him, I said, hey, here's the deal. Let's just go out. We get a strike. Let's just hunt. Let's just hunt like I'm not here. Let's hunt like you're not hunting for a client. I don't care about a big bear, whatever. Let's just go take the dogs out. When they bark, let them down. Pretend I'm not here. You know what I mean? Pretend like you don't have a big bear, a trophy guy. And so that's what we did. We took them out,
No
struck a
pressure.
track. Never seen the bear, circled around, caught it. It ended up being, it ran, we watched it run, and they were like, yeah, that's probably a runner. So that's probably not a shooter, right? You know what I mean? Like when we watched the race, the way it kind of ran and went, and they're like, yeah, that's not really, sitting there arguing with the dogs on the ground. And so I didn't even pack a gun. And the second thing was where it treed. I was like, I've been in much worse hikes. It was like 800 yards uphill, this little steep, through some blowdowns and slash and shit like that. But it was enough that I was like, dude, we're not packing a bear out of that. You know what I mean? That was the other thing about hunting with dogs. Hunting bears with dogs is I'm doing the math, and I'm like, this could be a bad deal. like this dogs
Yeah.
run stuff down to the bottom a lot, or the away from the roads. And I'm like, it can be a really easy thing, or it can be really tough. And anyways, when I seen where the tree, it was a tree, and we seen them locked it up, and I was like, oh, right on. And I said, yeah, we're not this morning. We're not packing a bear right there. I can tell you that right now. And we had already kind of made our assumption that it was a small bear by the way it ran. And so when we got into the tree, I was like, oh, that is actually a nicer bear than we were expecting. But the location, I still was like, yeah, no, I'm not. So I shot it with the
Yeah.
camera, and I call that my bear. I told Stuart, I said, "You got me my success. I could have harvested a bear, a good boar with dogs, if I really wanted, and I could have done it." So I told him, I said, "You as a guide can rest easy. I'm a shitty client because
You
I
did
really
your
don't
job.
listen to him, but yeah, I seen 3 lynx while I was up there, which was awesome.
Yeah, just walking down the road, that one.
3 of them, all 3 of them were on the road. So
Oh,
the
really?
first one, so I was trailing with Barry. We had a trailing a bear, and it was going into some reservation or something. So we had to call him off. Like it was like this. We had a runner, and it was heading off in some ground that we weren't going to have, good ground that we could hunt anyways. And so we had to call him off, and they were coming out the backtrack. Anyways, long story short, we had to come down right by Stuart's house to pick up this one dog. And so I told Barry, I said, "Hey, drop me and Mike out here," because Stuart had a big bear down, in kind of a hole that he needed some help, getting some equipment to. And I knew where I've been up there enough hunting lynx that I know the area good enough. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
so I told Barry, I said, "Here, I'll make sure that I take my gun. I won't have a gun with me or whatever. I'll go meet Stuart and just drive over there and help him, recover this bear," which they got to be really careful because you can't be without a guide. You know what I mean? So if you're hunting, you have to have a guide. And so the logistics of like you just driving around the woods, you're hunting. And so I'm like, well, I'll take the gun out. I'll make sure I don't got nothing in my gun, and we'll just go straight there. There's nothing, not a gun in my truck. There's nothing in my truck, and I'll just go. Maybe the game wardens up there are more crazy than they are here. I'm like, God, what are you talking about? Like, you can't just drive in the woods. And so I don't know what the technicality is. But anyway, so we go there, and as we're driving to Stewart, a freaking lynx runs across the road, and I'm like, oh. And so it was me and Mike, and I'm like, watch this thing cross the road. And I looked at it, and I hop out and grab my phone to video it, walking through this little pile there. And at the time, I was like, oh, it looked small. You know what I mean? Like when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's kind of scrawny. Well, it's because it's in the summertime. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't puffed out
Yeah.
like the wintertime cats are, the hides are. So, anyways, get some video of it, and I'm trying to figure out. I was like, oh yeah, that must have been a little small tom or something like that, whatever. So we're hunting the next day or so. And we're down another spot, and I look down the road, and I see this thing in the middle, on the side of this road, and I'm like, shit, Barry, stop. And so I hop out of the truck, and again, I start walking towards it, and it's a lynx. It's another lynx, and there was 2 of them right there. And I got the video of the second one walking down the road, and it's a young cat. Whenever you see that one, my video on
Right.
Facebook or Instagram, wherever I posted, I don't know. You could see that kind of going through the brush, and it stops and looks at me. And that was the smaller of the 2. So I was saying that was like a female and a last year's kitten or something. I don't know how they do it. Barry's like, those were too full grown. I'm like, compared to the first one, that first one was massive. I mean, that after watching the 2
Right.
other ones, and I go back in my head and go watching that first one, I'm like, dude, that first one was a nice cat. You know what I mean? That was a 25-pound tom. I mean, it was at least, looking now at what I'm comparing it against, I'm like,
Right.
that was a better cat than I anticipated. It was just the way the hides were in the summer that I was like, wow, and seeing how lanky they are. And so, yeah, 3 cats. I'm like, what are the odds of that? And to get out and video them. They don't
That's
run away.
cool.
So,
Yeah, they're a pretty cool animal. I don't like when you got your mount done, that thing turned out beautiful.
yeah. I mean, I was joking with Stuart. I was like, man, even when I'm bear hunting up here, I can't get away from cats. I'm still focused on the cats. So, but anyway,
It's all right. There's worse things.
Hmm.
Well, we're glad you both made it back into the country.
Yeah,
We were ready for some relief.
a little busy for you guys. You guys, I didn't even check in that much, honestly. Um,
No,
you guys had everything handled pretty good.
it didn't burn down.
Yeah, the one thing I can say is, I almost one of the reasons I would have shot a bear, was because I didn't want to come across as like, oh, everybody's think, oh, buddy, he's just a cat guy. Oh, he don't care about the bear hunters. And I'm like, man, I really do enjoy the bear hunting. You know what I mean? I wish I would have seen more of it with the dogs
Sure.
because I didn't enjoy running around looking for a big bear. You know what I mean? Like that was not my cup of tea.
Right.
I really enjoyed watching the dogs. Striking the bear. So I was like, if I was to do it again, I really want to be. I wanted to be about the dogs. Like I can just tell it. I was like, dude, bear hunting for me is much more enjoyable with the dogs. You know what I mean? And if I'm gonna do it, I want to do
Yeah.
it with the dogs. And that was kind of what I came to realize on that trip, that I was like, I don't have a strong desire to shoot a bear, but it was really cool. And I haven't gotten to watch a lot of bear races, just because my dogs, I break them off of bears and stuff. And so that was the part that I was like, man, I probably need to do that more, a little more often, get behind some bear
Yeah.
dogs and watch some bear dogs work. And I don't care if we catch small ones or big ones or whatever. I'm not there to shoot the bear. And that was hard for
Right.
Stuart, because he's like, I mean, that's what they do. They kill big bears. You know what I mean? Like that's what he likes to show, is pictures of big bears, and that's what he makes a living doing. And I'm like, that's awesome, but I don't really care for big. I mean, it's impressive to see
I
big
don't
bears.
care.
That part is pretty cool, but I want to see the dogs work. So yeah, I didn't shoot a bear, but
Heck yeah.
I had the opportunity to, and I was really adamant that if I was going to shoot a bear, I wanted dogs on the ground. I wanted to do it with dogs, just for the street cred. And then I didn't get the street cred either. I just
It seems fitting. Yeah.
yeah, I figured I'm going
It's
to
for
run
your street
W,
cred.
and I'm like, oh yeah, we just seen one and we just shot it. It was a big bear. I mean, it was a cool story, but I'm like, dude, I've got to have dogs in my story if I kill another bear. I've already shot one without dogs. And maybe I would
Yeah,
shoot
that's like
a fat bear, in the fall.
right.
This bear grease stuff you listen to, and like everybody romanticizes bear hunting in the new, yeah, clay and all that bear grease, and you can get this, and you can make soap, and you can, some of that starts to, it really starts to get on you're like, maybe bear fat isn't that bad. Maybe it isn't a pain in the ass to skin a bear in the summer, in the August heat. Well, maybe I'm just full of it. And then I'm probably going to get back there, and then so we were skinning bears out there in the heat with the mosquitoes. I was like, nope, this sucks. Like that's a lot of work. It's nasty, and I don't enjoy skinning bears in the heat. No.
Ours, it's yellow jackets, man. You open a bear up and you are getting ate alive.
Yeah. So you read in the magazines, I'll give Colby a plug, and Clay, you know what I mean? You read in the magazines,
Bear hunting magazine.
the bear grease, and they get to do this cool thing and all this bear, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 bear. And you start to think, I don't want to shoot a bear. I want to do that bear grease thing. And then
Right.
about the time I am looking at a bear, I'm like, no, I really don't. I don't feel like shooting a bear today. So.
See, when we hunt in California, that's why, it was later in season and they'd have a lot of fat on them. And that caught dogs through the season. We'd render it down and throw a scoop on their dog food and, make it go to work for you.
Yeah.
Around here, it's August and there's no fat on bears. You're just skinning out this big old stinky bear getting ate up by yellow jackets.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going through a period there where I thought last year, I was like, man, if I seen a bear, because I seen a couple spring bears last year, had dogs out, and I really enjoy watching bears. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I like watching any animal, any
Oh
wild
yeah.
animal, with and without dogs. Like, I love watching the animals, with or without dogs, and so that part of it's cool. But when it comes down to it, that I just I don't know what it was about the I think it's the yellow jackets. It's the heat. You know what I mean? It's not a deer and elk. I mean, I really like deer and elk meat, and I probably have some childhood trauma from my first bear. That's
Oh,
legitimately. I
guarantee it,
probably.
because bear's some of the best meat out there.
What's that?
Bear is some of the best meat out there. That's all in your head. I'm telling you right now. Like, I could live off of bear
I
meat.
have childhood trauma. I need to see a counselor. Anybody you can recommend? Like, it was a bad deal. The bear got sour. I mean, it was the only animal that I've ever had go bone sour, and I tried because I wanted to
Ugh.
eat that thing so bad that I sausaged it, and you just could totally taste and smell the sour.
Smell it through the plastic.
Yeah, I mean, you'd cook it, and it was. And we had to throw it away, and I really, like, I begged the meat shop to process it because they were telling me, and this is how stupid I was, right? Back to knowing what you know and what you don't know. I'm like, no, really, it'd be fine. Just cut that top off. And he's like, no, I don't think this is good. And he said, I won't do this part. He said, I might be able to save you a little bit here or there. Whatever. He tried to, couple basketball size, sausage or
Ugh.
whatever. But he was absolutely right. It was absolutely horrible. So I will try with Mike's bear whenever he gets his done. I'll have to try, and see if maybe I can change my opinion. I still have childhood
Oh
trauma.
man, just hamburgers, tacos. We use it for everything.
It does
Biscuits
not.
and gravy makes the best sausage for biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, but mind over matter, and it matters to me right now. If you don't mind, it don't matter. I freaking mind. I can tell you after I still have.
I mind.
So,
Dude, if you've ever smelled that, like, there's part of our audience
Mhm.
is cringing when you just talk about it, and the other part, you're lucky enough you've never experienced it, because
Yeah.
once you do, you will never forget the smell. You will never forget the taste.
Yeah, and it can happen to elk. I mean, deer. Like, when I have an animal down now, I'm really, really, like, careful. Like, I'm annoyingly probably like, yeah, I want to get the hide off or whatever. If I've killed a bull in September or whatever. I used to be fairly, a lot of guys, I don't know, in the Midwest or whatever, they're around cold climates and they can let a deer hang for a week or whatever, and you know, um, let stuff hang.
That'd be
Don't
nice.
skin it off and stuff like that right away. And for me, I'm like, nope, I want my hide off as soon as I can. For elk, if I can't get it out whole within an hour or so, we're normally skinning it out and quartering it. Just I've just learned it's just easier to quarter out and get the meat out. And that all
Well, you
came
told
from a
me
bear.
take and slice down the back of the hams.
Oh yeah,
Just split it open and get it away from that bone so it cools out.
yeah. Me and Stuart.
And that's a good tip. I mean, personally, now I don't care what it is or how far it is from the road. If I can't drag it in like one or two pull sessions, I'm boning it out right there. And when it gets to the truck, it goes in the cooler.
Yeah.
But if you're packing out on quarters, I will say it is a good idea to split that ham, like you were saying, because where we're at, I mean, it's hot. Opening a bear season, you're 100 degrees plus.
Yeah.
And I will tell you right now, you don't get a bear opened up and cooling within 20 minutes. It's a pretty good chance you're going to have some spoilage.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I think we've talked enough about
Well, welcome home.
bear. I'm gonna have to shoot a bear just to make people not mad at me because they're going to be like, "Oh, buddy, he's just a cat hunter. He don't like bear hunting." I'm like, "No, I like bear hunting. I don't like dealing with bees, mosquitoes, and bone sour bears."
Yeah, right. Well, that's what we'll name this episode.
Yeah, mosquitoes, bumblebees, and bone sour bears. Oh, anyways.
Yeah.
Well, we never got to talk about the
Well,
Prineville trial. Give us a quick rundown on that before we hang up.
oh, it was a good time. Yeah, those guys over there, they put on a really good show. It went super smooth. I think pretty much all the drags came in. Yeah, there was like one re-entry race that they didn't get a qualifier, but I had a dog even that ran the trial for the first
How
time.
do they do that 3-pack
God,
deal?
5.
What is that? I was looking at that, the 3-pack.
It's pretty
3-dog
cool.
pack.
So they time it.
Is it
Yeah,
only
so you
your
sign up a
dogs?
3-dog pack, and it can be your dogs, or like we could partner and put dogs in amongst 3 guys.
Right.
But what they do is they start the timer. They got to run the drag, and they stop it when the last dog trees.
So I guess my question
if they come in and don't tree, you don't.
Are there
qualify.
12 dogs out on a time, or are there 3 dogs at a time?
3.
3.
Just 3. It's those 3 dogs only that have to do it.
That's what I was curious. And
it went quick. I mean, those guys were running, drag, and they'd have a truck dropping off the next round, and then they'd just cycle it through. Wes and Brad and all those guys over there were working their butts off.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it was good, and it's an awesome grounds, which is where the OUSDA trial is going to be this year instead of LeGrand. So if people are looking for a cool place to go camp in a really well-run field trial, I would say check that out in August.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be.
I don't think I'm gonna make that one.
How many hunters or how many groups of 3-dog bear? How do they call that race?
The pack race?
Yeah, the 3-dog pack.
Man, I want to say it was like 12 or 16 different packs, but I could be way wrong.
And that's why they do it on Sunday, huh? So because it probably takes.
They start in the morning and roll through them.
How long was that race?
So they do like the field trial, the shorter scent drags, and then they'll do the bear race in the morning, and that's a long race.
Right.
And then they'll do the pack race, and they had a treeing contest.
Are they doing the pack race on the bear track or the other tracks, or a different track?
On the field trial track.
Okay. So a little shorter.
Yeah, I want to say it's under a mile. I know that.
Okay.
Or pretty close.
Interesting.
Where you get into the bear races, they're usually 3 miles.
Some of those
is what they were trying
for. A long ways, man. I mean, I remember. Yeah, some of them were like damn near 5 miles.
Oh, I heard all about your elk chasing.
Oh man,
and wondering if a guy was going to get his tracking box back from you.
Yeah, who was that? I don't even remember. That was a long time ago. Yeah.
He said, buddy shows up. He doesn't have nothing. Didn't even have a tracking box. And the dogs got into a herd of elk during the field trial and scattered.
I had to drive to Madras.
And he says,
yeah,
that's what he said. And he said, I sent him with my tracking box, and I think I got a T-shirt out of the deal by the end of it or something. But I didn't know if that crazy guy was going to bring me my stuff.
So we turned loose maybe 8:00, 8:30. I don't know, whatever that bear race was. Turned loose. I got back to camp at 10:00 that night. That was it. So that was like 8:30 in the morning. I got back to camp at 10:00.
That's an all day endeavor.
And everybody's drinking around the fire. And I'm like, hey, it was legitimately, I had to drive 2.5 hours to town because that dog, it was Maddie at the time, I think. She had come off a hillside and came in the other side, got picked up by a rancher, and they took him out the other side of the canyon, and ended up, he lived in Madras. And I don't know how far Madras is from Prineville. I'd have to, not too bad, but
it's a ways.
It was a good drive. I remember I was like 6:30 that night where I got the phone call. I finally got a phone call and I was like, yeah, my dog's Madras. And so I legitimately, I don't know if I had 3 dogs or whatever, but all of them took the elk. I mean, it was there was guys looking for dogs all over the place. I was one of many.
You weren't alone.
Like I don't think they run the bear race in the morning anymore on that, or do they run the bear race before the drags
On Sunday. Well, we run it on Sunday.
Yeah,
most,
that was the lesson learned
or after
from
the
that
field
one,
trial,
because they were like, well, we just lost all our dogs on the bear race. There was, it was such a mess because they'd have qualifiers, and they're like, we were all signed up for the coon qualifiers. So I was like, Maddie's up. I'm like, oh no, Maddie's gone. We don't know where Maddie is. Where's Cooter? Cooter's not here. So we just have all this. It was a complete chaotic show to try to get the lineup, because half the dogs got screwed up on the very first race in the bear race, because it's just like we turned all these dogs loose and blew them up. And so, I never, like I said, that was the only thing I ever ran. I never ran a coon drag on that track. I don't remember if they did a cat race at all back then. I don't remember, but I remember I was like, that was probably the last bear race I turned loose on. I was like, dude, this is not working for me. That was before Garmin.
It's a good time.
That was before Garmin.
I will say, I love it over there, though. Like that Prineville, the Ochcos and all that. Like if people want to look it up on a map, just find Prineville, Oregon, and head east towards Mitchell.
Yeah.
And it's off there, somewhere at an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. And it's a good group of guys, too. I'd say anybody within driving range, it's worth going over.
I like those guys. Those guys, that was awesome. I got to hang out with them again. It's been a while since I got to hang out with them over there, but I got to hang out with them OUSDA a little bit too. Man, that was. You get east, you get out of the valley.
My kids were waiting for you, man.
Oh yeah,
we got to the trial and they're like, "You think Buddy's coming?" I said, "No, we're here." Well, so said, well, that's why I'm here. He's like, "Well, but Buddy owns W." I'm like, "Yeah, but Dad's job is to go and hang out." And I said, "Dad's got a pretty cool job. I get to go hang out and talk hound dogs with guys all weekend."
I don't know what. So I think I just got back from. I had volunteered for my daughter's dance recital. I got them set up to sell T-shirts, and so that Saturday I was thinking about trying to go, but I had already promised that I'd help sell T-shirts, little dance T-shirts. So I was dance dad,
sparkly ones.
Yeah.
It says dance dad.
Yeah, I was gonna make my own shirt. It said dance dad. The only time it's okay to wear glitter, but. There was a couple other inappropriate ones I wanted to put on there with like Bud Light and shit, but I was like, no, I better not. So
no.
Yeah, anyways. All right, Jason.
Well,
I've got to go here.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we need to do an
You're catching up with you.
Yeah, we need to do it again. Try to get a couple in the books on podcasts, and we need to get a guest. Like, I'm tired of just talking, me and you. So we need somebody to come up and help us give us a guest. I still want to try and do a veterinarian at some point you were talking about. And I know there's a couple other people that have been wanting to do a podcast. We need to give them the reins on. We'll talk about that offline. I don't want to put names out there, but we need to make sure we line up some guests before we get busy with hunting season again.
Before September rolls around and Buddy disappears.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. All right, Jason, let's wrap it up.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. Later.